Yesterday you saw the objective questions. Today we will discuss on the you know on these questions. The questions that which you have to answer briefly. The first question is, who is the lady mentioned in this story? It is an interesting question, student, that you read the story The Luncheon, in which you saw that the narrator was actually telling you about a woman whom he first met 20 years ago, and the lady was actually quite a greedy one when he first met her. And actually this time he was seeing that lady in a theater, and right now he has forgotten also about the lady. To show that, he has mentioned in the story that if someone would have told him even her name, he would barely have recognized her. But when after 20 years he but when before 20 years from that incident, 20 years ago from then, he saw the lady. Actually, the lady was actually an admirer. Lady was actually a fan of the writer, of the narrator, who actually read some of his stories. So that is why she started to like narrator, and she wanted to have a lunch with narrator. You have read in the story. So so actually this lady was actually a fan of the writer. And in simple words, you can say that, not in simple words, but you will have to answer in eloquent words, in proper with proper words in proper sentences. When you are answering a question of a literary story, you would have to write in this way: the lady was an admirer of the narrator, who once invited him on a luncheon in Foyot's restaurant. She was the fan of his writing, and actually the narrator is seeing her after 20 years in a theater right now. So this is the sample answer I have given you for this question, for who is the lady mentioned in the story. The lady was actually a fan of the writer, who first met her 20 years ago on a lunch in Foyot restaurant. That's what the answer would be. This is the proper way of writing. You can also write in your own style, or in your own way, because in literature we always have to attempt we always have to attempt ourselves with our own mind. Now let's discuss the second question, student. The second question is actually how and when the narrator met her first time. So as in the story it has mentioned that the narrator actually met her 20 years ago during a lunch, because she invited him on a lunch because she liked her style of writing. So that lady actually invited him on a lunch, and at that time actually the narrator met him first time. So you can write in this way: the first time narrator met her 20 years ago when she invited him for a lunch. Student, in this there is only one him you have to write, not two. Actually, he invited him on a lunch, for a lunch actually. So for a lunch party in Foyer's restaurant. Now the question number 3, student, is here that what was narrator's financial condition at that time? Give 2 reasons why he could not refuse to take the lady out to lunch. Now in the story you saw that the narrator's financial condition, student, was not good, not great, and he could not refuse the lady, because at that age he didn't learn how to refuse a woman. You all know that whenever a man is proposed or invited by a lady, then it becomes very difficult to refuse. So at that young age the writer also didn't learn how to refuse the woman, and he was very much flattered also that someone has liked his work, someone is his fan. If you can feel quite proud also of yourself, you would be quite flattered, when you see that someone is your fan, someone is praising you, someone is liking you, or someone wants to have lunch with you, then you would also feel quite flattered. So that is why actually the narrator also felt quite flattered when he was invited by a woman. And and, uh, and then he was also at that age could not say no to a woman. So full, how you will write in full sentences, you will write the financial condition of the narrator was not so good at that time, but still he could not refuse her, as he was flattered and too young to have learned to say no to a woman. So, student, I have written only the answer of 3 questions tomorrow. The answer of remaining 4 questions I will write you tomorrow, and then we will go to the next question. Thanks, everyone. You will have to note down the questions in your copy. Keep that in mind.